Hey Siri, switch off the gym light.
Right.
Hi guys, welcome back to another YouTube video and I hope you guys are doing fantastic. In today's video, I'm going to be taking you through how I turned this into that. So over the past few weeks, I've been putting in some work to try and turn this room into something that was really inviting and sort of like a minimalist workout space. So in today's video, I'm going to be taking you through the entire build from start to finish. So before we could even start working on the floor, I had to take some items to storage so I can make some room. Then over the past couple of weeks, I received a package from Speediance and I've already unboxed it in the previous video, so please be sure to check it out if you haven't. After unboxing the Gym Monster 2, I still felt like the space needed some bit of inspiration, so I called in my DIY friend. And man, I'm just kidding, and don't ask me why this guy is wearing one glove. But the first thing that we had to do was to move the gym unit into the other room. And once that was done, it was time to take some floor measurements to calculate how many mats we would need. And the space measured around 150 centimeters by 250 centimeters, and this worked out perfectly because each mat is around 50 centimeters wide. And once that was done, I just went to my local hardware store to pick up some PVC mats. And the reason I chose them is because they are very rigid and they are easy to maintain and clean. And I also grabbed a mallet hammer so I can lock everything in place. And before we could start laying out the mats, I realized that the floor was a bit dirty, so I called in some reinforcements so that we can clean up the floor. This process ended up taking a bit longer than I anticipated because I had to carefully pin everything in place to avoid making any noise for my neighbors downstairs. Lastly, I had to trim the edges for a perfect fit and clean look, and then now it was time to focus on the wall. After measuring the wall to around 270 centimeters, I headed over to my desk to do some online shopping for wall panels. Since Builders Warehouse is the closest store to me, I browsed through their selection and I instantly fell for this black wall panel, and I felt like it would be the perfect fit for the gym. So here, each panel is around 2.4 meters high and 160 centimeters wide. So to cover my 2700mm wall, I would need around 16 or 17 panels. So already from here, I knew that covering the whole wall was going to cost me an arm and a leg. So I decided to do a half wall instead, which cuts the number of panels right in half. And because the store is nearby, my order arrived in just 2 days. The reason I didn't go to the store physically is because I didn't want to have the hassle of transporting the panels myself. After unboxing, I realized that the panels were actually longer than 2.4 meters, so I double checked the measurements to make sure I was cutting them exactly in half. And at first, I thought I could cut 2 at once, but as you'll see, that didn't work out. So from here, I decided to measure and mark all the panels and then cut them all at the same time. I'm using 3M command hooks to stick the panels onto the wall instead of super glue. This allows me to avoid the mess that comes with super glue. I can do this because the tile skirting at the bottom anchors the panels securely, so really and truly I just need something to hold them against the wall and prevent them from tipping. And before I attach the strips, I'm using isopropyl alcohol to remove any dust. And the nice thing about these strips is that they use Velcro, so you can attach and detach them as you like. And this helps a lot in terms of aligning the panels. Here, because of the wall socket, I had to carefully measure and cut the panels to fit right around it. The next morning, once the panels were secure, it was now time to put the edge trim to give the installation a clean, finished and consistent look. And because the edges actually have a groove at the end, this will let them anchor nicely onto the panels with just super glue. With the panels finished, it was time to bring some life into the gym, and I always knew I'd add a plant, which is why it was the first thing I got even before the build started. So I started by looking at the clay pots, and I could only find dark colors here and I was not sure which one to pick. So since I already have plenty of dark pots at home, I asked the guy and he told me there was some neutral colors in the shop, so I went looking around and found something. And this was going to be a perfect fit because the gym itself has a dark aesthetic, so having something neutral would sort of help neutralize the space. And for the plant, I decided to go with the Ficus lyrata. It's a plant I don't have anywhere else in the house, and it's also good for improving indoor air quality, so I went with it. And now it was time for the fun part. I started by adding some rocks at the bottom for drainage, followed by some potting soil. The nursery worker mentioned that indoor pots really need drainage holes for water to escape, but I have other plants in the house that have clay pots that don't have a tray and drainage holes, and those are doing just fine. So I'm a little bit confused, but please let me know in the comments if you know any better. And with the tape removed, the edge forms a neat channel here that you can see for hiding the LED strips to create some cool backlighting. And with the build nearly complete, it was finally time to bring back the centerpiece, the Gym Monster 2. And now, it was finally time to rest. Nope, not yet. I have some cool features that I really want to show you. Since this is a new setup, I wanted to kick things off properly. I've never actually run the built-in strength assessment before, so now is the perfect time to try it out. It helps you determine your 1 rep max by taking you through a series of baseline measurements to measure your real-time force output. This takes away all the guessing, so the weights are set correctly from the first time. And before we do that, we're just going to start with a simple warm-up.
We'll start with 5 practice reps to help you get familiar with the back squat technique.
And once you've reached your maximum strength, you click that and you move on to the next movement. And once the assessment is finished, it gives you a complete summary of your data, which acts as a great baseline for when setting your fitness goals. When training alone in an apartment, safety is everything. And here, after I've set the eccentric mode, I'm just going to enable the safety start feature here. The way you set the safety start is that you easily pull and then allow some space below, and it will set that as the minimum threshold. So if I hit failure during a press, the digital resistance automatically disengages below that point. And another great feature is that you can rotate the display 90 degrees, which makes it easy to read metrics while laying flat on the bench. And here, during the workout, you can see that the cable resistance automatically disengages once it reaches the preset safety range. And lastly, one of my favorite features is the spotter mode, which assists you to complete the last few reps if you feel fatigued. It sort of reduces the weight to help you finish that last rep, or sort of nudge you to finish that last rep. In spotter mode 1, it lowers resistance when cable speed drops, but not when stopping at the top or bottom of a movement. And here, watch how the resistance drops in real time when I struggle to push the weight up, which gives me the support I need just to finish the rep. And man, a big shout out to Speediance for sponsoring another video. I'll leave links to their products in the description, so please go and check them out. And to make this feel like a high-end personal gym rather than just a room with equipment, it was now time to focus on the lighting. And to control the LED strip, I got this Sonoff Mini R4, and this thing is unbelievably compact. It's only about 3 to 4 centimeters wide, which means it can easily fit into tight spaces. And before starting with the wiring, I took a quick moment to just verify the terminal layout on the Sonoff Mini R4 to ensure everything connects perfectly. Here, I'm using a 3-pin plug to connect the Mini R4. The 3rd pin just ensures the plug can only be inserted in one way, keeping the live and neutral in the correct orientation. Unlike a reversible 2-pin plug, this just helps to prevent accidentally swapping the live and neutral connections. Once that was done, it was now time to seal my extended cables with heat shrink tubing. I prefer using heat shrink because it provides better insulation and just gives a more professional finish. And before inserting the wires into the Mini R4, I lightly solder the ends to keep the copper strands together and prevent loose strands. Now that the wiring was complete, it was now time to test the Sonoff's physical switch to see if it could turn the light on. Yes! I've had a lot of questions about how I integrate my devices with Apple Home, so I thought I'd share my setup. This chip on-board LED strip I'm using is a standard 230V AC strip, and the Sonoff Mini R4 here simply switches the mains power to it. And the Sonoff connects to my Wi-Fi using the eWeLink app. And once it's online, I just use the Homebridge eWeLink plugin running on my Raspberry Pi to expose the device to Apple Home. I'll show you exactly how that works next. First, I needed to add the device to the eWeLink app. And since I was using an iPad, I just had a few issues trying to scan the device, but eventually I got it working. And once that was done, the next step was simply just connecting the device to my home Wi-Fi. And now it was time to log into Homebridge, and since I already have other eWeLink devices, the Homebridge eWeLink plugin was already installed. Now it's just a matter of checking if it would detect the new device. As you can see, the device showed up straight away, and the next step was to test the plug-in. Then I headed over to Apple Home, where I could do things like, "Hey Siri, switch on the gym light. Hey Siri, switch off the gym light." The next morning, it was time to install the lighting. First, I disconnected the wiring so I could feed it through the wall panels. Then I removed the adhesive backing and stuck the LED strip into the channel, just like I showed you earlier. Now, I'm feeding the wire through the wall panel channels to keep the wiring neat and hidden. And before making the final connections, I had to make sure that the wall socket was switched off, just in case the live and the neutral wire touch. "Hey Siri, switch on the gym light."
Okay.
Nice. To finish off the build, I added a few small accessories. I picked up this wooden clock, but at first I wanted a mirror, but they were a bit too expensive. But here, the wooden finish complements the black wall panels really well, and all that was left was to install the battery and set the clock to the correct time for my time zone. Before installing it, I carefully measured its final position, and at first I really didn't want to drill, but the building manager recommended that for delicate pieces like this, it's better to just drill a small hole as opposed to using adhesive strips, because those sometimes can pull off large sections of paint when removed. So with a small screw like this, it's much easier to fill and repair without repainting the whole wall. I also picked up the Xiaomi Humidity and Temperature Monitor 3 Mini. I was originally looking for the larger 3.7-inch version, but I couldn't find it anywhere. And this is a nice addition because it lets you see the room temperature and humidity at a glance. It also uses very little power, so a single battery can last you up to 2 years in standard mode and up to 3 years in long battery life mode. And at this point though, I didn't have much energy to integrate it with Homebridge to publish the sensor readings to Apple Home. Installing it was very easy as it comes with a double-sided adhesive pad. I simply peeled off the backing and stuck it in place. I also replaced the curtains with blinds, and as you can see, the room looked much cleaner without the curtains. I think the blinds were the perfect choice, especially for controlling the natural light coming into the room. I also wanted to show you this sleeper couch I bought a few years ago. It easily folds out into a comfortable bed, because originally the plan was for this room to be a guest room, so this fits the space perfectly. And now we can finally get some rest. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps support the channel and allows us to keep making videos like this. Catch you in the next one.